Dearborn. It's been a great 24 hours here. I'm gonna be here until Monday. It already feels like home. So thank you guys. And it is an honor to receive this award after Rachel Corey. We grew up close to one another. She went to the same college that I went to. Yeah, she put her values into action. Was killed by a bulldozer in Israel in 2003. And her father, Craig, was actually one of the first people that I connected with back in November. And I can't imagine being a father or her mother, Sydney, and what they've gone through. But I know that Rachel will be proud of how they have continued to live for her in the spirit and the cause of Palestinian freedom. And I can't speak of Rachel without also mentioning Aisha Noor, a recent University of Washington graduate who was senselessly murdered by the IOF last week while protesting illegal settlement expansion and violence in the West Bank. More than 20 years after Rachel was killed, the parallels are impossible to ignore. And just like Rachel, she was a passionate advocate for peace and for justice. Just like Rachel, she felt compelled to travel across the world in solidarity with the people of Palestine. And just like Rachel, she should be alive today. My journey with Palestine started 343 days ago on October 7th. I was on tour here in the States. And as the days went on in October and the utter desecration of human life continued, I started learning about this conflict that was deemed, quote unquote, complicated. What I learned fairly quickly was how uncomplicated this conflict really was, and how the origin of what started 76 years ago actually sounded very familiar with this country's history of occupation and genocide. I spent a good portion of my time on that tour bus watching the videos coming out of Gaza, the ones that we have been witnessing the last 343 days. Video after video of martyred children the same age as my kids with their precious bodies being pulled out of rubble. I saw myself and those parents holding their lifeless babies in their arms. I saw my own kids when I saw the children of Gaza screaming over their father or mother wrapped in a white sheet. I saw intentionally stalled aid trucks, the white phosphorus indiscriminately falling from the sky, the targeted hospitals, the refugee camps, the mosques, the schools, and those American-made bombs taking almost everything from the people of Gaza. But I also saw what they couldn't take. Those bombs couldn't take away their faith. Those bombs couldn't take away Palestinian resilience. Those bombs couldn't take away the people of Gaza's pursuit of liberation. And the more that I saw these images day in and day out, I realized that my heart was being opened by the Palestinian people. I was experiencing a daily emotional pendulum between grief and rage, countless tears of utter disbelief watching this genocide take place. I was researching the Nakba, deconstructing Zionism, crying with friends, watching videos, learning about how colonization, capitalism, white supremacy need each other to exist, and how they were at the root of the Nakba 76 years ago that never ended for Palestinian people. I was taking it all in, and and I was silent. I didn't want to be labeled anti-Semitic. I didn't want to offend anyone. I didn't want to risk the potential of financial repercussions by taking a public stance. I didn't want to lose fans. I was still thinking about me. And all of this initial fear that I had was backed up by the fact that nobody in the music industry had said anything. The October days continued, my pain was boiling over. I found it almost impossible to perform night after night and pretend like I was okay. I was not okay. I couldn't smile on stage and celebrate life while Israel was simultaneously committing genocide with billions and billions of our dollars. I stayed quiet for weeks until I learned that Kehlani had said something. That she was using her platform to advocate for Palestinian liberation. That was all that I needed to see. Just one person in the music industry had said something, and that was it. Had it not been for her, I don't know if I would be here today. It's a testament to what happens when the internal pain from being silent outweighs the risk of speaking up in moments of injustice. And October seems like an eternity ago, right? Thinking about all the things that I was weighing. And now it has become very simple for me. The people of Palestine have given me the greatest gift. They taught me what actually matters in this finite amount of time that we have on this earth. My spirit has been reminded. I want to live in a world where standing up against genocide isn't brave, it's human. I want to live in a world where using our platforms to condemn ethnic cleansing isn't a risk, it's a given. I want to live in a world where advocating for the most marginalized isn't rewarded, it's expected. I want my children to know that Palestinian liberation is their liberation, is our liberation. They are not separate. I want to live in a world where our children are taught the history of systemic oppression and how the roots of white supremacy and capitalism have infiltrated our democracy in America today and how that spreads like a plague to the rest of the world. I want to stop voting for the lesser of two evils. I want to deconstruct and rebuild a system where evil never gets a platform in the first place. I want all human life to be cherished the same, for all of us to feel safe walking this earth that none of us own. And I wouldn't have been able to reconnect to my own heart and envision this world had it not been for the people of Palestine in the last 343 days. Your immeasurable suffering and pain will not go in vain. It has ignited the entire world. The next generation is alive, loud, and unapologetically committed to this movement. We will not forget you. We are right here. We are not going anywhere.
Let's go!
And I'm gonna close with this. I swear, I know I'm hungry too. I had like 7 bobos. It's time to eat, I know, but I'm gonna close with this. I had this moment the other day, and I have a 9-year-old daughter. Her name is Sloan. 9 years old, and it was picture day on Friday. And so I went into her room, and to say goodnight. And she had her outfit laid out. And she was writing on a t-shirt. And I said, "What are you writing on the shirt?" And she told me, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." And I was like, oh shit, my daughter was gonna get kicked out of school. And we had this conversation, right? Talked about it. And I was like, no, it's your choice. It's absolutely your choice what you want to wear to school, but is there a way to say this that might not offend any of your friends? And she looked at me and she said, "Dad, if I get kicked out of school, I don't give a damn. And if anyone has an issue with it, that is their problem." I was unpacking it with my brother Tamara the next day on the phone, and he told me that he would have said the same thing to his kids. And about 45 minutes later into our conversation, we came to this conclusion. If we aren't willing to get uncomfortable, we are slowing down the movement. I realize in that moment, this is not time to placate to fragility. This isn't a time to tiptoe around demands. This is a time to stand up, to speak out, to take to the streets, to boycott, to divest, to be uncommitted until the U.S. stops arming Israel. And I realized that me trying to gently censor Sloan was not the move. That in this moment, she was teaching me what it looks like to stand in conviction regardless of the consequences. She wasn't trying to be a hero, she was just being human. And with that said, from the river to the sea,